Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Are you ticked off yet? Are you feeling taxed out of your mind? You should, but you aren't. The reason most Americans sit back and pay taxes with only a minor grumble here and there is because you don't know how much you really pay in taxes, and I mean really pay. Well, as greedy, evil, liberal politicians use your money to finance their murderous, family-destroying schemes, it's high time you realize just how much of your money they are actually taking. We're going to use the example of a family of 4 or 5, mom and dad and 2 or 3 children, living in a home with a value of around $180,000. Those are pretty typical examples. We're going to go with the median income in the U.S., which is about $55,000 a year. So, as the old saying goes, it's not how much you make, it's how much you have left over. So let's begin. There are multiple taxes that you pay, some upfront and obvious, many of them hidden. The government doesn't call this last type, the hidden ones, taxes. They call them fees. But be certain, when the government takes your money, oh, it's a tax, brother, it's a tax. There's a federal income tax, unemployment tax, Medicare tax, Social Security tax, state income tax, interest tax, sales tax, gasoline tax, property tax, retirement tax, license plate tax, phone usage tax, toll and bridges tax, local tax. We are taxed to death, actually after death as well. So, what do taxes have to do with being a Catholic or a follower of Christ, you ask? As most families know, household finances are a continuing source of stress and compromise. In many cases, mom and dad have to go out to work, not to meet their expenses, but to meet the government's expenses. Watch. Remember our family living with 2 or 3 children living in their $180,000 house, earning about $55,000 a year? After all the taxes are taken out of the paycheck, and I mean all the taxes, not just income tax, that annual amount has now shrunk to about $36,000. Ouch, from 55 to 36. Of course, the exact amounts will vary depending on where the family lives, but it's close enough. Now for the next big chunk, property taxes. Lop off another roughly $3,000, taking us down to $33,000. Each of those 2 cars is going to need new plates and tags each year. Cut that pay by about another $500 annually. Oh yeah, and the cars need gas, of course, with about 30 cents a gallon of money at the pump going toward taxes. That's right, every time you stick that pump in there, lop 30 cents off the price. That's how much gas really costs, minus 30 cents. Again, this depends on where you live, but that's a good average, so little math is in order. The average miles per gallon Americans get is about 20 miles per gallon per car. The average vehicle drives about 20,000 miles per year. That means about $300 a year per car gets paid in taxes at the pump. That brings your annual income now down to less than $33,000. Of course, you have to buy stuff with an average state sales tax of about 6%, and our typical American family purchasing about $8,000 worth of taxable goods a year. That's almost another $500 a year. That income has now fallen to about $32,300. Then there are the really obscure taxes like on your internet provider and your cable company and your telephone carrier, to name a few. The government charges them fees and they pass them along to you. They tax them, you pay the tax. Taken together, they add up to about $600 a year. So, how much do you have left over? That $55,000 has just become less than $32,000. More than 40% of what you bust your hump to make, the state takes away. Over 40%. And when you add in a whole bunch of other little charges like transportation taxes on airports and bridges and toll roads, so-called luxury taxes on home entertainment equipment, for example, and the extra taxes you have to pay on interest you earn from your savings account, for example, and your retirement account, don't forget that. Add all this up, and almost 50%, half of what you make, 1/2, is taken away from you. And we aren't even counting the so-called sin taxes on wine or beer or alcohol, maybe even cigarettes if you smoke. Taxes like this are not only unfair, more to the point, they are immoral. These taxes weaken families because they hit them where it hurts. They prevent parents from being able to choose better schools, for example. They are immoral and they are sinful. One of the first principles of Catholic social teaching is that a worker deserves a just wage. After all, our liberal friends have been shouting that for years, haven't they? Well, that includes not being taxed to death so that his wages, the workers' wages, become insignificant. When you add into the mix that the trillions of dollars flat out stolen from Americans by their politicians is then siphoned off to evil organizations like Planned Parenthood and many others, Catholics start to get faced with a choice. At what point does it become sinful to render unto Caesar when Caesar is using your renderings to kill you? I'm Michael Voris. Hello, Michael Voris from Real Catholic TV here. This past year, we've been able to bring you news and commentary on extremely important stories like the Obama scandal at Notre Dame, the ongoing struggle for control of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, and the nefarious connections between open enemies of the Church and their operatives inside the Church. No matter how distressing these types of things are, it's important for Catholics to know about them so we, the laity, can be vigilant and make sure the integrity of the faith is being protected and passed on in an authentic fashion. As the end of the tax year approaches, we'd like to make one small request. Despite the tough economy many of us are dealing with, if you could find some amount of cash you're able to spare to help us out, it would be greatly appreciated. Please help us keep helping the Church. Just click on the link in the box next to me. We know these times are tough. Trust me, we know. Please help in whatever way you can. Thank you. God bless. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.